'Cause my crew, we're jammed to abandoned buildings. Sees an empty cup we fill 'em. I keep my circle tight, vibe just right with my six string singing all night. Gender, faith, color, or lover, don't matter one way or other. No complaints from music softer. Thanking God for that, but news dad is a doctor. My crew doesn't quit.
Welcome everyone to the Eve Growing Concept. Today's video is going to be CBCB, carbon-based composting bin. So we're going to talk some more about a carbon-based composting bin. You know, last week I collected a bunch of leaves and I almost filled up one of my bins, right? Minced all the leaves up fine as I can. Like this pile right here, I'm going to mince that up to as small as possible pieces. Now you can do this in a couple different ways, whether you have a leaf shredder, a mulcher type thing, or mow them over with your lawnmower. Just a simple, small horse-powered lawnmower will get these into nice small pieces, and then you put them in a 4x4, maybe 3 feet, 4 feet high, 3 feet high, and pack it down, and you add slurry. Like a slurry, that is your nitrogen. I get my slurry from my vermiculture, my worm farms that I keep in the basement. That's where all our food goes when we're feeding them, all our organics. In our house, we throw very little away. I've said this in other videos, and I'd like to say it again. If everybody did their part, as far as understanding their personal inputs and their personal outputs, our ins and our outs, very important. We as individuals can save this planet by just understanding what we consume and being mindful of what we consume. And so we're not, I know we're a part of a system that's about gobbling everything up. You have to buy as much as you can and consume, because if you don't consume, this nasty economical system we're a part of will fail. So it's all about consuming as much as you can, right? This time of year is very disheartening for me when I see Walmart and all their plastic crap, all these toys that you know kids are just going to open them up once and then throw them out, and all the other bull Twinkie stuff that we buy as consumers just because we have the money to do it and we just think it's cute or fun, like Valentine's Day, all the stupid plastics that they have us convinced we need to buy. Those of us who are mindful of our inputs, what we take in, because we know what we put out is how we're taking care of the planet. So I guess what I'm getting at is, in our little town here, we have a leaf collection that comes and collects all of our leaves, and they turn it into a compost, into like a dark, rich compost. At our town municipal, they do this, so people can come freely and pick it up. Now, this is a great service, but think of the energy and the money it takes for us to have these big trucks and the paid people and to bring all this heavy material to one spot where they can put it in a pile and do essentially what we can do in our own houses, just as easy. More easy when you think of a CBCB, a carbon-based composting bin. It's like having a little oven or a stove that you can slowly break down your organics. So it's each of our responsibilities to be mindful of our inputs and our outputs, and this is how we can take care of our planets. Everybody wonders, what can I do to help out? Well, you can help out by understanding your inputs and your outputs. That's how you can help out immensely. When you start growing food for yourself, you understand that all organics is precious. You're not even going to want to let it go to the landfill once you understand what these red wigglers can do to your organic garbage, which it becomes awesome soil amendments when these red wigglers put their magic to it. Doesn't take long either, and we've talked all about that. We're going to talk more about vermiculture. Today, again, is about a carbon-based composting bin. My carbon-based composting bin is where all my outside yard stuff goes. All this greenery you see around you, and maybe this mess I'll try to pick up too while I'm at it, but all this greenery you see around me will be turned into soil. And we'll be talking about this one's output. We'll be talking about our cat's output. These are our farm animals. Really, because if you're using their outputs are important. So they're similar to a urban farm animal. The cat and the dog could be. We don't eat them, of course, but we do use their outputs as growing, whether you put it on your grass or your flower beds, or you use it for growing vegetables, food and vegetables. And we'll be talking more about that kind of stuff in other videos. We'll be talking about pathogens. Again, the way you can do that, you can use a lawnmower to mince it all up, or you can use a shredder. Today, with this pile, I am going to use a shredder. Okay, let's remember, folks, always remember to wear safety glasses and have a good pair of leather gloves to protect your eyes and your hands. Gas. Needs gas. It is a little time consuming, this is for sure, but I think it's worth it in the long run to mince it up as fine as you can. Your soil, your leaves turn into soil so much faster. I'll have this soil, since my high temperatures are so high, between 140, it's always in the red, 140 to 160, my composting pile, and it's very easy to fluff it up rather than stir it up because your nitrogen is in the form of a liquid. So the liquid nitrogen feeds on the minced leaf carbon, and that's what gets my temperatures up to 140 to 160 consistent heat for like a month at a time, and then I fluff it up and I can get it back to that. You can regulate it very easily with a CBCB. So much easier than if your nitrogen was in bulk form, meaning all your food waste just goes into the composting bin. Now, for those of you who don't want to go through all this, you don't have to. You don't have to go through all this. You can just put it in your compost and it will break down. You don't necessarily have to get those high temperatures, especially if you have a lot of space and you have the time to let it sit and wait. For myself, I want soil for next year. I got a lot of stuff I want to do with it, with my Eve growing, so I want to do it fast. Because once again, the more surface area exposed in your organic matter, the faster it all breaks down. This is true whether you're doing vermiculture or you're doing composting. And so everybody should have a composting bin in their yard. And if you don't have a yard, there's ways of doing it in the city, which I would love to discuss that in other videos. How do you do composting in the city? There's a way we can do it, guys, without having to have all this precious organics wasted in our landfill or incinerated into the air for so-called energy. How silly is that? So let me get some gas in this thing and get going on the task at hand. I should have added some before I started the project, but I didn't. There we go. Now that I drained it, it's probably going to be harder to start. We'll see. That took about 30 minutes. Now, that's the pile. You saw what it looked like before I started. That's what it looks like now. What I'm going to do, and it's kind of a little crazy, is I'm going to try to run it through one more time because my pile, which we're going to take a look at, that I started 3 days ago, we'll go and look at that. I only have about that much more to fill up on it before I start a new one. So what I was thinking is I'll mince this up even smaller. I know this is a bit of an overkill, but I just want to experiment with the smaller and the more compact you make this carbon, the hotter these temperatures can get. And I'd love to see if I get further than 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That'd be amazing, but I think that's where I cap out at. If anybody's gotten higher, I'd certainly like to know about that. But let me just run this through one more time and we'll take a look at the pile again. It's a great workout too. Let's look at the difference. You know, it's a lot easier going through the second time, of course. It's important. The horsepower, I think this one is 3 horse maybe. It's not very big. I have an 8 horse one that I use for big 3-inch branches and stuff like that. This one does clog sometimes if you don't put your stuff in just right. But let's look at the consistency between the second one and the first. Both materials are good. It's overkill to go twice on here. But again, my pile is almost topped off. I have enough to top it off, and so I thought, what the heck, I have a little time to do that. I know, again, a lot of people are going to think that's a little overkill, Mark, that you're going through all this effort to do this. It's a little overkill. I know farmers are probably thinking, oh my God, I just put it out there and nature takes care of itself, and that's true. But here in urban settings, we have to think a little bit differently because we're in tighter space. We don't have the room like a big farm has, but we can do the same thing as a farm. And in fact, any homestead could be wherever you are. It's all a mind, so it's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking, homesteading. Doing stuff for yourself, growing your own food, making your own canned goods, taking care of your ins and outs. And there's so much excitement here, I feel, and a lot of potential as far as taking care of the planet. In each person taking responsibility. I talk about this a lot with the people I meet in the course of my day and my loved ones. I talk about it, and a lot of times they kind of make fun of me because, first of all, we live in New England. There's no need to grow in containers when you have enough rain, enough soil to grow your own stuff. But again, my system is designed for urban living, where we can grow on hard blacktop, on rooftops, parking lots, anywhere and everywhere. We take, as I've said, traditional growing and non-traditional growing. We bring them together for a growing experience like no other. Eve growing does compete with any non-traditional growing method that's out there. In fact, Eve is better because we haven't lost the art of composting and vermiculture. And, you know, with these soilless growings, the aquaponics, the aeroponics, the hydroponics, they don't need to compost. So they can abandon that whole thought. They're taking all their time and energy into a system that requires a lot of time and energy. So doesn't Eve growing, but with my system, I'm at least incorporating breaking down organic matter, stopping it from going to the landfills, to the incinerators. I am doing that. And that's the problem I have with soilless growing for the most part on a residential scale. Save that part for commercial growing, as I've said. I know I'm getting off the subject, but another thing I want to talk about with that real quick is the aquaponic aspect. Everybody's getting excited about aquaponics, especially people in the residential areas. Forget about it, guys. Unless you want to raise fish and eat fish, because most people on a residential scale use fish that you can't even eat. They're just doing it because everybody thinks this is the easiest way. Aquaponics cannot do the things Eve growing can do. You know, it's funny. Eve can incorporate aquaculture in my growing method, but aquaponics can't incorporate soil in theirs without mucking up the whole darn thing. With my system, of course, you get all the benefits of soil. Plus, if you want to add fish to your setup, you use the dirty fish water when you clean in the tank. You add that into your watering regimen. All right, so I don't understand when people in schools, municipals, they start getting this grant money for these aquaponic systems. I think to myself, you're wasting your time. Again, it's like some workout equipment that never lives up to expectation, and it never will for you residential growers. Let's look at the material here. Go to the composting bin over there, and try not to make this a long video as I ramble on all the time. Right? And this is the first. Let's go over here. There's not much difference, right? That's all good stuff. Let's go load this into our composting bin. Okay, that's last year's pile right here. This is this year's pile. I'll have 2 piles this year because I'm going to have that many leaves, I believe, because I'm almost topped off on this one. This one I did 3 days ago. I had about that much compost from spring and summer, all carbon. So I added about this much more of minced leaves. And let's take a look at the temperature, how hot it was. I did this 3 days ago. And I know the temperature, I looked at it before, went up like the second day. The third day, let's see, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, the third day is when I got up to 160. The second day it was 140 into the red. And we'll take a look at it right now. And again, it's very important to cover. As you can see, there's a little rain going on right now. You don't want to have too much nitrogen. to your carbon. And if it rains, a real bad rainstorm like we had a couple days ago, right after I did fill this bin, if I didn't have that covered, all that rain would have just saturated this pile, ruining my whole hot composting bin here. So luckily, always keep it covered. This is the magic of nature right here. All right. That's some amazing heat right there. All right, I'll top this off with the leaves that I just made and then start a new bin. They're valuable. It's like, you know, for me, I see a pile of leaves, and for me, I just see awesome organics potential with it. I get all excited. I can't believe people just let it go to the curb. Let people take their organics. They're your organics. And every time I see a big pile, especially people who have a lawn and stuff like that, I'm thinking, oh my God, if they only knew to save your leaves, and next year you'll have awesome soil. Instead of going to the box stores to get your bag of soil, you'll have it on hand, and it's simple 4x4x4. So simple. This is free to make. Doesn't take much in your yard. Doesn't take much space at all. Doesn't take up any space at all. And you city dwellers can do this too. The carbon for city dwellers is cardboard and newspaper. And we'll talk more about that. See, you people in the cities, you could have a homestead too, right in your apartments, and live in the city and have all the benefits of the city and still be mindful of your inputs and outputs. And if everybody was mindful of their inputs and outputs, this world would be such a better place. Tell you what, almost done filling this sucker up. All right, so you got this composting bin all full, right? Imagine if you put your rabbit cage on top of here, or your chicken coop. That heat would radiate from here. I've tried a bunch of different ways to get that heat from inside out, and I'm still working with that thought in my head with different ideas. It's a good workout anyway. I could use that. That's one thing about gardening for me, getting a workout from it. But so if you had a small animal that you wanted to heat, maybe you have an outside dog, that's how you could keep warm during the winter. And I'm thinking, like with a rabbit cage on top here, you just let the poop go right through the screen, right onto here, and that's an added nutrient for your growing system. So let's top this off. Stop, don't bark. All right, let's add some nitrogen to this pile. Now, I used all my slurry initially 3 days ago when I got this thing heated up to over 160 degrees, as you see. But I did mince up a lot of green material also during the weekend, and I basically put it, put it in water. All that green minced material. Let's see if I can kind of... So right there, put it in the form of water. This is all the green right there. And I will, let's take the liquid out of this. Let's just move the liquid. All that nutrient-rich nitrogen. Essentially just water with a lot of the green nutrients coming out of all these weeds. This was weeds and all my garden tomatoes, all the stuff that I tore apart. now I'm going to take that liquid that's in here and add it to here. Okay, along with all of my dog's waste is turned into liquid form and added to the nitrogen liquid regiment. And so we pick our dog's manure up every day and we put it into this bin. This bin is also a fly trap, so flies, while it's sitting out in the yard, it might as well be doing something. So the flies go into there and they get trapped up into the whole system and they become a part of the organics as well. It's amazing that we can turn everything into soil. That's where we come from. That's what life is all about. This is what urban farming is basically about. And I know for many of you it may seem gross, but it's important. And you know what? For the most part, if you do it right, there are no smells. Then you get those brief smells when you first put it together, but when it's all done, you shouldn't have any smells if everything is covered. And we'll talk more about that in the upcoming videos. But basically, our cat manure and our dog manure is added to the compost in different ways, and we'll do videos on that as well. All right, folks, that's it for this video. Save your leaves. It's important. There's no need to have all this precious organics taken away from our residential areas. So let's do it ourselves so we can save some energy and some money for our towns and for the planet. Let's start taking care of our own organics, our ins and outs. That is the secret to a healthy planet. If each one of us is conscious about what comes in and what goes out and how we can deal with our outputs. As you noticed with the temperature there that it did, I had it over 160, but I think I didn't have enough nitrogen to get it up there to past 160. I only had enough for to get it up to over 140 anyway. Today's Halloween. The leaves are going crazy right now. I hope you liked the video. I know it's a little long. I get a little winded. I get overexcited. I stray from the conversation all the time. So that's part of it. That's part of the Eve Growing YouTube experience, I suppose. If you like it, please put a like down there. Like what I do, please subscribe to my channel as well. That'd be great. I got some links down below for my Facebook groups, the Fermenting Facebook group, which I got some awesome videos coming up on that one with my new, I've created my own version of a continuous flow system, a CFS, right? CFS. I finally get it right, guys? I was calling it a flow-through system or something like that. I guess with the worm community we call it a continued flowed system. So I'll be doing some great videos on that. I've got some good results. Some of you guys who have followed my Facebook link, you know that I've been dealing with a 55-gallon drum and a bicycle wheel. And I think this is going to be amazing for the CFS. Whatever. Oh my God. So many acronyms. So little time. So, and what else am I working on that I'm excited to show you guys if I could finally get the videos out there? The new continuous flowing system, I'm liking it a lot. And also, I think about fermenting, all that work I've done with fermenting, what good is that for? We're going to talk about how even these fermenting containers is great for dedicated vermiculture. If you want to experiment, you scientists who want to experiment with different things with vermiculture, I think fermenting is a great option where you're not using so much space. You could put it in little containers. I think that's a great thing. And it's also a great way, these fermenting bins, these aerated buckets, another good thing about them is that they are great to store your castings that are finished, that have a bunch of eggs in it, your little nurseries. Okay, so that's another good thing about these fermenting bins. And we'll talk more about that in upcoming videos. I hope you have a happy Halloween, or had a happy Halloween by the time you get this, because it's Halloween right now. I've got to go. We get about 200 and something kids come through our little neighborhood here. So I've got to get ready to pass out some candy. So that's all I have to say for now. God bless. Over and out.
My family and Papa found caregiving always somewhere by the fire pit. If your friend and your family ain't free, if you're foe, then tonight is on me. My crew has talent and loyalty, and they'll be partying over these royalties. You're damn right. Like my crew doesn't quit.